can move your paper down and we'll look at the bottom half. We're going to draw this again. Another axon terminal, another receptor, or another postsynaptic membrane, with receptors. And I just want to use this to consider the effect of GABA. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So if you have green little GABAs in here, in this case, the effect GABA has on the postsynaptic membrane is to decrease activity, action potentials by the next neuron. One of the ways it could do this is by increasing the incoming of potassium, right? So if there was a channel here, if it binds here, then potassium could come in, it could hyperpolarize the cell and decrease the likelihood of an action potential. So if GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter and you stimulate it, then you're going to depress brain activity. So think about this. So alcohol, and benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines, it's a lot to write. Diazepine, sorry. And a good example of that is Valium. Both of these stimulate GABA. Therefore, they depress brain activity. And I don't mean like they make you feel depressed, but they are depressants. You can call them depressants. But at the same time, both of them are going to be good at stimulating dopamine. So dopamine is not depressed by them. Most other neurons are, but dopamine is not. So it's the exception. And we find this often with medications that make the patient feel a little bit dulled, but they do feel good too because they have more dopamine. A similar drug is marijuana, and it binds to cannabinoid receptors in the brain, and there is a natural substance that binds to these receptors, and it also, similar to GABA though, inhibits brain activity with the exception of dopamine. It increases dopamine. And then I also want to point out, so this is how we get these kind of contradictory effects. Yes, it makes someone, their brain is relaxed, but they feel really good. It's almost like it's stimulating and depressing at the same time, and sure enough it is. It's depressing most brain activities, but it's still allowing dopamine to go in that reward circuit of the limbic system. And then last, but in a similar note, there are the opiates. Things like heroin and morphine, which I know from experience, which they gave me during both of my C-sections, makes me throw up. So that's not a good thing about morphine. I guess for some people it makes them feel good. But so what it does is it mimics endorphins in your brain, and you make those naturally. Most people talk about that, like after they exercise, they have an endorphin rush. Well, endorphins do two things. They decrease pain sensitivity sensitivity. So that's why they would be good as a painkiller in case of morphine. But they also increase activity in the pleasure centers. Again, what's that going to come down to? Dopamine in the limbic system. Feel good. So you get this two-sided effect.